Hello and welcome to my show Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. We're back with a new episode from the heart of Pakistan. Today's recipe is very interesting and it dates back to the Mughal Empire. We're making Malai Koftay today. It's also known as chicken Malai Koftay, and what does this mean? Basically, Malai means cream and Koftay means meatballs. Back in the day when the Mughal Empire was flourishing, this recipe was one of their favorite recipes, and it was served in all the festive occasions the king used to have. This recipe, when it was made, in those days, people used to use meat from the lamb or from the goat. And apart from that, nowadays, because we live in a very globalized world and people do not have much time, and everyone knows that red meat takes more time to cook, so now this version is made in chicken in Pakistan. It's a very famous recipe and people love it in every household in Pakistan throughout all the four provinces over here. Now this recipe is very easy, it will be executed very quickly, and you just have to be careful when you're basically bringing the meatballs together. So what will we do first? We need to make a mix for the meatballs, and for this recipe, what are the ingredients? The ingredients are very simple and they're easily available in the market. You need some onions, some tomatoes, and around 1 kilogram of chicken mince. This is all you need, things which are on my right side. And apart from that, what you need is you need some green chilies, you need some cream, you need some milk, you need some coriander powder, red chili powder, you need some green cardamom, black cardamom, you need some garam masala, then you need some salt to taste, ginger, garlic, which should be very fresh, then you need some oil, you need some lemon and some yogurt towards the end. This recipe will have a white texture and it will be made very quickly. But for that, first, what do we have to do? We have to bring the meat together. For that, what will I do? I'll just pick up 2 pieces of green chilies and I'll take the stems out. Now you need to understand whatever goes into the mince needs to be very, very finely sliced or chopped. So what I'll do is first I shall just slice the green chilies finely, and then I shall just turn them around and chop them so that they are finer. So I've just turned them around with my knife and I'm just passing the knife through them so that the green chili helps in bringing the meat together. If you will not finely chop the green chilies, what will happen is it will make binding of the meat a little impossible. This is done. I'll just start keeping everything on the side, or maybe I'll just pick up a bowl, bring it in the front and keep it over here. I'll transfer all the green chilies into this, pick it up, transfer it here, pick up the stems, throw it in the dustbin, and it's done. Then what I'll do is I'll pick up 2 pieces of garlic, I'll just put them here, I'll crush them like this, and then yet again I shall pass my knife through it so that it is finely chopped. Okay, just transfer all of the garlic into the bowl over here. This is done. Now just pick up the ginger shredder and use the thin side. I'll just be needing around, you could say, 1 teaspoon worth of ginger, which is finely sliced. Just pull it out, keep it at the back now, and if you can see when I bring it together, this is equal to 1 teaspoon. I'll just pass my knife so that the strands convert into this finely chopped texture. Okay, now this is done. What I'll do next is I shall pick up 1 cardamom, which is green. I'll just break it out. I'll bring the seeds out like this, if you can see on the chopping board. Shake it so that if any seed sticks to the half, or also you could say the shell, it comes out. I shall just slowly and gradually pass my knife through the seeds so that the seeds then release more flavor. You do not have to add a lot of these. Why? Because this is enough and it will release a lot of aroma, you could say, in the meat, and if you overdo it, it will taste really, really fragrant, and that will bring down all the other flavors. Now what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of cumin powder, a little bit of red chili powder, a little bit of garam masala, and then just a little bit of coriander powder. Now all these spices I've added, I've just taken a 1/4 teaspoon I've added over here. Why? Because I want the flavor to come out, and that is about it. Okay, now what we'll do is we shall just pick up the mince, transfer it to the bowl, and now we shall mix it. Now, because you know that the mince is usually very soft when it comes to chicken, you have to be very careful. I need around 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'll transfer it here and I'll mix it properly. Just massage it, fold it, and the dry spices will also help to bring the mince together properly and evenly. I'm doing this off the board so that everything doesn't stick to the green board, which is basically used for vegetables or fruits. You will not mix it. Why? Because cross-contamination is a problem, and I wouldn't like that people eating my food or cooked by me fall ill. You have to properly mix it so that all the spices come together nicely. So just do this, and now what we shall do is we shall form meatballs out of this. Now for the meatballs, what I need to do is, first of all, I need to just pick up this board. My left hand is clean, and take it at the back. When the board goes at the back, what I'll do is I shall just rinse my hands once, and then I'll tell you what to do next. So now what do you have to do? You have to basically make the mince into meatballs. For that, because it is a little sticky, what I'll do is I'll just pick up some oil, and this oil will just be used for the meatballs. So what I'll do is I'll dip my fingers properly into the oil, both of my hands, and now rub this. Now you might be thinking, what is he doing? The only thing I'm doing right now is I'm really greasing up my hands so that the meatballs don't stick. Now as you can see, they're not sticking, and if your hands weren't wet, it would have surely not come together. So just make sure you press them together properly. Why? Because you're basically binding them. If you do not bind them properly, they will start falling apart. We do not want the meatballs to fall apart. That is the first thing you need to remember. Why? Because if you do not bring them together properly, the texture will get changed and everything will get ruined. So just do this slowly and gradually, and then you shall see all of them aligned together in this tray right over here. So as you can see, I've made the meatballs. I've made around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 meatballs, which means 2 meatballs per person, which means it serves around 4 people. But if you would like to make the meatballs a little smaller, you could also do that, or you could even make the meatballs bite-sized. Now when I say bite-sized, these are not bite-sized. Why? Because you will have to dig into this meatball at least thrice if you're a normal human being, and if you make the smaller versions, it will just be like you pick it up and just toss it in your mouth. So now I'll keep this on the side. This is done. Now we have to basically start making the curry for this. Now this recipe will have a very different approach to cooking these meatballs. Now what do I mean by this? I mean that when you will be cooking these meatballs, you shall be boiling them in the milk, cream and water mixture. You won't be frying them before. So what I'll do first is I'll pick up a fresh frying pan. I'll keep it here. I'll bring it to heat now. Now increase the heat, let it come to heat, and just reduce the heat a little bit. What I'll do is I'll bring it to medium. Why? Because I do not want the pan to overheat. Now, what do you need? You need around 2 onions. I'll just pick up 2 onions. This recipe does not require too many of these. And I will now finely slice these. Just keep it super close. And as you can see, they're really, really thin. You have to always make this thin, remember it. This will give you the best result. This is done. Now, what I'll do is I'll take the root off from this onion. Why? Because I had forgotten it already, and I'll throw it on the side. Now just cut it from between, keep it on the side, and just finally go through the onion. Now turn it around, and this is done. Slowly and gradually you'll win the race. If you try hurrying it up too much, you will start losing out on life. Okay, this is done. Now the pan has come to heat. What I'll do is I'll pick up the oil. I've just poured some fresh oil over here, and I'll transfer it to the pan. Now this recipe does require a lot of oil. Why? Because this is how it is made. You can also use butter or clarified butter for this recipe, but the best would be if you use sunflower oil. Just pick up all the onions and start transferring them, and you do not have to make them brown. The reason behind that is that if the onions get brown, what will eventually happen is that the color will change of the recipe, and I want the color of the recipe to be a little towards the light brown side. Okay, now just mix it up. Pick up some salt, which is over here, and just transfer it into it. What I'll do is I'll just put a pinch of salt, that is it, so that the onions start sweating. Remember one thing, that when you put salt in food while you're cooking, they start sweating properly. So now I'll just keep mixing it. This is done, and now I shall just turn it around. You have to give it a lid first so that they get translucent, and once they are translucent, they shall go brown. But you will stop the onions on translucent. So till the time this is cooked, we'll go for a short break, and once we're back, I'll let you know what to do next. Keep watching Indus Cuisine. Welcome back. You're watching Indus Cuisine, and I'm your chef Basim Akhund. During the break, I just waited for you, and over here, as you can see, the onions are nicely light brown. Now I'll reduce the heat to the pilot, and now we'll just pick up 2 tomatoes, and we shall finely slice these. Keep it over here. Take the eye of the tomato out and let it rest. The eye of the tomato goes in the dustbin, and now we shall just finely slice them. And just go slowly. Why? Because you want all the slices to be equal to get the best result. I'll also do another thing, which I'll show you once I'm done with slicing all of these equally. When you're done with this, you bring all the tomatoes together, and as you can see, they're basically sitting on the chopping board lengthways. So what I'll do is I'll just turn them around, pass my knife through, and cut them into 2. Why? Because this will give you a very nice chopped effect when you add them to the pan. Okay, pick it up, transfer it in the hot oil, and then we shall cook them on high heat for a minute. So all of this is done. If you can source all the juice also, that's good. And now increase the heat to full. On the other hand, I'll just pick up another pinch of salt, and I'll just start sprinkling it on the tomatoes. This is done. Mix it up, toss it, and now pick up a spatula and give this a lid so that it cooks on high heat. This is done. Pick it up, reduce the heat to high. This is too high for now. Why? Because you have to see the pan's shape and size. Okay, now this is done. What will I do next? I shall clean my knife, just wipe the board a little bit so that the tomato juices go away and the things I chop next do not slip. Okay, so now what do we need? We need some garlic. We need around 4 cloves, and we shall finely slice them. Go as close as you can. Why? Because the garlic needs to be finely sliced. If the garlic is not finely sliced, you won't get the perfect result, the perfect flavor, and then the recipe will be dominated by a very strong garlic flavor, and that will ruin the whole thing. It will be edible, but it wouldn't be the recipe I'm teaching you today. The cooking time also varies, and the cut also varies of the vegetable or the meat, and basically it also changes everything you know about cooking. As you can see, the tomatoes have come to heat. Now I shall just pick this up and transfer it into the pan. Spread it out properly, press it down a little bit so that the garlic does not stick together. Now as you can see, the garlic is not sticking together. I'll just shuffle it around so that the garlic gets a nice chance of frying. Now you need some ginger. Pick it up, slice it, keep the remaining on the side, and go super thin. We want the ginger to be super thin, remember it, so that when we fry it, it releases its flavor very quickly. Okay, now mix it around. Pick up a spatula and let it cook for like 30 seconds. Now what do you need? You need a small bowl. I shall pick it up and I'll bring it over here. The bowl is over here. Now what I'll do is I'll transfer all of this into this and then I shall blend it into a smooth, fine paste. Okay, so just reduce the heat. Pick up the... Okay, now transfer this into the bowl over here. We need all of the oil, remember that, do not waste it. And you need to take out every last piece. Why? Because we want a very smooth paste-like texture. I do not want the texture of this recipe to get ruined. For that, you need every piece to be finely blended. Now what I'll do is I'll just pick it up and transfer it all over here. This is done. Okay, now why did I basically tilt the pan towards the end? Because when the oil is less, you can do it, but in the beginning, if you do it, there's a high risk that the oil basically comes out and you can get hurt. Now, when you are always putting some hot liquid over here, you will always transfer everything in one go, cover it, make sure it is sealed properly. Why? Because you don't want it to splash out. When this is done, you shall now switch it on. All of this is done. Now I'll just pick it up and transfer all the goodness back into the pan over here. Transfer it here, and as you can see, the oil has come together, and now when we cook it again, it will start splitting. Now there's a lot of it sticking to the jug over here, so try sourcing it out by scooping it properly. This is all the flavor. Please do not waste it. This is done. Now what I'll do is I'll just pick this up and put it at the back. Do not put the jugs in the sink. Why? Because they are delicate, and if you drop something on it, it can obviously break. Okay, now we shall increase the heat to medium and we shall start cooking this recipe. Now, what do you need? You need to pick up a few green chilies, let's say another 6 pieces, or let's say 4 because they're a little bigger today. We shall just cut the tops and add them directly into the pan over here. Throw it here, pick the green chilies, transfer them, and now start adding the spices. Now what are the spices that will go in? First we shall add some green cardamom. For that what I'll do is I shall basically bring it closer and just beat it down. We're beating it down so that the seeds come out. I'll pick everything up and I shall just transfer it here. When you transfer all of it here, the flavor will obviously get nicely enhanced. Remember that. Why? Because the pods need to be released first. Okay, now when this is done, what I'll do is I'll add some coriander powder, some red chili powder, some garam masala, because the garam masala goes right now in this recipe. Why? Because some recipes also require the garam masala to go towards the end, but every recipe is a little different. And then the cumin powder. Okay, all of these powders are done. Whatever I've used goes at the back because I don't need it anymore. Okay, now we'll add another pinch of salt. I'll increase the heat, which is already increased, and I'll just pick up a jug and add, let's say, half a cup of water. Half a cup of water goes in, and we shall now cook the masalas in this paste-like texture. Properly mix it. And as you can see, it's catching color, it's catching flavor, and this is what we require. It's nicely bubbling. And now this part is done. Now what I'll do is I'll give it a lid, which is over here. I'll keep it on top and let it cook for another 1 minute on this heat. So till the time this is cooking, what I'll do is I'll just clean up and then I'll let you know what to do next. So as you can see now that the oil has basically come on the top. This is almost ready, the paste basically, but now we have to cook the meatballs. For that, what I'll do is I'll pick up 3 black cardamoms. I'll keep the remaining at the back because I do not need them. I shall just press them like this so that they release their beautiful flavor, and I'll toss them in. Now when this goes in, first I'll add the water. Milk. Keep it at the back, increase the heat to full, and now I shall transfer all the yogurt into it. The yogurt goes in, the heat must be controlled properly, and now I shall just scoop it up so that I do not waste any yogurt that sticks to the ramekin over here. Now just make sure to keep your station super clean. Why? Because when it's clean, then only you'll get the best result out of it. We do not need any ginger. The ginger goes at the back. And now we shall just add the meatballs over here. But before that, what I'll do is I shall just pick this up, the ladle, and I shall just slowly and gradually mix it. Now I'm using a ladle. Why? Because when the ladle is a little circular towards the bottom, it mixes up well and it doesn't, you could say, spill things around. Okay, now just turn it around and start mixing it like you make lassi. Now lassi is basically a Pakistani drink, a fruit drink made out of yogurt completely. Okay, this is done. It's super delicious. I'm going to keep it over here so that I do not spoil it or I do not drop it in. Okay, when this is done, now just very nicely and smoothly pick the meatballs up, place them in properly. Do not let them touch each other. Why? Because they are super delicate, and trust me, they will hold together and not break if you follow these small steps. Okay, this is done. And now I shall keep this on the side. Now what I'll do is I shall just give it a lid and let it cook for 5 minutes. But before that, I just need to add another half cup of water. The water goes in, spread it out, and let it cook properly. So till the time this is cooking, I shall just clean up and then I'll show you the final look of the recipe, and the cream will go towards the end. So as you can see, the meatballs are done, they're properly cooked, and the last thing that I have to add over here is the cream. We'll add the cream and just slowly and gradually mix it. Slowly mix it, keep cooking it for another 1 minute, and then we shall dish it out. Now as you can see, the color of this recipe is getting a little more, you could say, diluted towards the whiter side. It has this nice red tinge which comes from the tomatoes and from the red chili powder we cooked together. Now this is done. I shall just dish it out and show you the final look. As you can see, today's recipe is ready. It was delicious, it was quick and easy, and as you can see, every meatball is holding together and it's not falling apart. I've just dished out for 2 people right now, the remaining in the pan over there. Why? Because you do not need to extra fill the, you could say, the thing you're basically pouring your dish into. I'll see you in another episode of Indus Cuisine. Take care of yourself, lovely people. Bye-bye.